Let's be real for a second. Most of us probably spend more time trying to figure out what to watch on a Friday night or picking out a new phone case than we do on these huge critical financial questions. And it's not because we don't care. It's just thinking about this stuff feels heavy. It's uncomfortable. So today, we're going to lean into that discomfort, but we're going to do it in a real, manageable way. Okay, let's get into it.
So, let's just start right here with a really direct question. I want you to take a moment and just think about this honestly. If your income just vanished tomorrow, how long could your family actually keep their life going as it is? A few weeks? Maybe a few months? It's a jarring thought, I know, and that's kind of the point. It makes the abstract feel very, very real.
And hey, if that last question made your stomach do a little flip, that is completely normal. In fact, you should know that feeling isn't a sign of weakness. Not at all. It's a sign of awareness. It means you get it, you understand what's at stake, and that means you're actually ready to start thinking about a plan. That feeling, that's the first step to taking back control.
So, where do we even begin? Well, we start with the simplest, most direct form of protection out there. We're not talking about complicated investments or confusing financial jargon. We're talking about a basic, straightforward shield for your family. The whole idea here is actually incredibly simple. The best way to think about term life insurance is like renting an apartment. You pay a little bit each month for protection over a set amount of time, say 20 or 30 years. If the worst happens during that time, your family is protected. And if it doesn't, well, even better. You're still here. It's really that straightforward.
Now, for our purposes today, we are focusing only on term life. And why is that? It's because it does one job, and it does that one job really well. It provides pure, uncomplicated protection. Whole life insurance, on the other hand, tries to mix in an investment piece, which just makes it way more complex and a lot more expensive. For most people, especially when you're just getting started, simple is almost always the smartest way to go.
And here's the part that usually surprises people the most. For a healthy person in their 30s, this kind of peace of mind often costs less than a couple of those monthly subscriptions you forgot you even had. I mean, we're talking about $30 to $50 a month. When you frame it like that, it suddenly feels a whole lot more doable, doesn't it?
Okay, but how much coverage is the right amount? A really solid rule of thumb is to look at what your family spends in a year and multiply that by about 10 or 12. What that number does is give them a decade-long cushion, a buffer to figure things out without having to deal with financial panic on top of everything else. It can seem like a big number, I know, but it's designed to provide real long-term security.
So, once you've thought about protecting your family's future, the next logical step is organizing your own stuff. And this brings us to a topic that so many people just dismiss right away. They hear estate planning and think, oh, that's not for me. The biggest myth out there is that you need some kind of giant estate to need a plan. And it's not true. See, the real point of estate planning has nothing to do with being rich. It's about being clear. It's about giving clarity to the people you love when they're going through an unbelievably difficult time. The whole goal is just to answer the hard questions now, so they don't have to wrestle with confusion and legal headaches and a ton of extra stress.
And really, a basic estate plan boils down to just these 3 key documents. First, a will. That just says who gets your stuff. Simple. Then, a power of attorney. That's who you pick to handle your finances if you're ever unable to. And last, a healthcare directive. That's who makes medical decisions for you if you can't. That's it. 3 documents that create a world of clarity.
I really love this analogy because it just captures the whole spirit of it perfectly. Estate planning isn't some dramatic, morbid thing. It's an act of responsibility. It's an act of kindness. You're just tidying up your own affairs so that things are as easy as they can be for the people you leave behind. It's one of the most thoughtful things you can possibly do.
All right, so we've covered protecting others in a worst-case scenario. Now, let's talk about protecting yourself while you are very much alive and kicking. It's time to talk about your emergency fund, or, as I like to call it, your oh crap fund. Because, let's be honest, that's usually the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you need it.
This fund, this is your personal financial firewall. This is the cash you have ready to go when life does what it does and throws a curveball. The car breaks down, a surprise medical bill shows up, maybe the furnace dies, you know the drill. This fund is the thing that stands between a manageable inconvenience and a full-blown crisis that could send you spiraling into debt.
Now, I know that looking at a goal of 3 to 6 months of your expenses can feel absolutely massive, like impossible. So don't even start there. The key is to break it down into smaller, doable steps. Step 1, just focus on getting your first $1,000 saved. That alone is huge. It'll cover most of life's little emergencies. Then, work on building that up to one full month of expenses. And only after that, you can slowly chip away at that bigger 3 to 6 month goal.
So what do you do with this money once you have it? The answer is absolutely nothing exciting. This isn't money for investing, this is insurance. It just needs to sit in a simple, boring, high-yield savings account where it's safe and you can get to it easily. And remember, the goal here is not perfection. The goal is peace of mind. Just making progress is what really counts.
Okay, so now we're going to get into what might be the most emotionally tricky topic of them all. We've talked about protecting your own future and organizing your present, but what about the bigger family picture? This means having the talk with your parents about their finances. I know, for so many of us, this is the final frontier of uncomfortable conversations, but it's one we really need to have. So when is the right time to bring this up? Well, here's a great guideline, the 70-40 rule. It gives you a reason that isn't personal. It just says when a parent turns 70 or when you turn 40, whichever one happens first, that's the trigger. It's not about you being nosy or them getting old. It's just an objective milestone, a good time to start the conversation, ideally while everyone is still healthy and calm. But how do you even start? This approach right here is a fantastic way to open the door. You're framing the whole thing around what you're doing, which makes it feel collaborative instead of like an interrogation. You're not demanding answers. You're just sharing your own process and inviting them to talk. It makes all the difference.
Now, the goal of this conversation isn't to take control of their money. The goal is to understand so you can help if and when a crisis hits. You just need to know the basics. Where are the important documents? Have they thought about a plan for long-term care? And who is legally supposed to be in charge of things? Knowing this stuff ahead of time, it can prevent an absolute world of chaos and heartache down the road.
So, let's step back and tie all of this together. Term life insurance, estate planning, emergency funds, talking with your parents. They might seem like separate things, but they all serve the exact same purpose. They all represent a fundamental choice, the choice to move from a life of hoping to a life of planning.
And really, the choice is pretty stark when you lay it all out like this. Just hoping for the best? Well, that leaves you with stress, uncertainty, and way fewer options when things go sideways. But planning creates clarity. It creates peace of mind. It doesn't mean bad stuff won't ever happen, but it means you'll have more tools and fewer panicked decisions to make when it does.
This really gets to the heart of it all. Life is unpredictable. You can't control everything that's coming your way. But planning gives you a steering wheel. It gives you the ability to navigate those unexpected turns, instead of just being a passenger getting thrown around in the back seat. It's really about empowerment.
Look, at the end of the day, none of this is about some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about doing the boring, responsible work that actually builds a stable and secure life. So, if you appreciate these kinds of calm, honest conversations about life and money, hitting that subscribe button is a great way to make sure you see more. I just want to leave you with this one last thought. You don't have to solve all of this today. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to take one small step. Maybe that's just getting a life insurance quote online. Maybe it's opening a savings account and putting $20 in it. Your future self isn't watching you and demanding perfection. They're just hoping that you'll start. And that first step, it matters more than you can possibly imagine.